Loch Ness Monster is the classic looping roller coaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. What was once one of the world's largest roller coasters is now dwarfed by quite a few at this Virginia park, but Nessie's historical significance can never be taken away. But is this coaster timeless or dated? Find out in this review of Loch Ness Monster. Busch Gardens Williamsburg opened in 1975. The park's first three coasters were off-the-shelf clones, but they made a major splash with their first custom coaster in 1978. Loch Ness Monster would open as the world's tallest and fastest roller coaster. Built by Aerodynamics, this looping coaster would stand 130 feet or 40 meters tall and reach speeds of 60 miles per hour or 97 kilometers per hour. But the ride's record-breaking height wasn't its most significant feature. Rather, it would be the world's first and currently only remaining set of interlocking vertical loops. Placed in the Scotland section of the park, Loch Ness Monster is themed to the famous mythical beast. The ride's largest elements are fittingly placed over the water, and those interlocking loops are one of the most iconic sights of any theme park. The ride's paint scheme is also fitting with the yellow track and green trains. The main course doesn't have much theming outside of a helix and a rock cave. However, the star of the queue line has some expedition paraphernalia including submarines, diving suits, and camping gear. Then the station is lightly themed to a Scottish castle, and that's where my wait usually starts with this ride. I usually don't have to wait more than a few trains for this coaster. The ride can back up though on busy days due to its lengthy cycle time and lower capacity than the B&Ms. Loch Ness Monster originally opened with 4 trains, each seating up to 24 riders across 6 cars. The park realized the 4th train wasn't efficient, so they reduced the ride down to 3 train operations, but each train received an extra car. Nessie operated in this manner for decades, and it was possible to have 2 trains going through the vertical loops simultaneously. This dueling effect was a sight to behold. Now, Loch Ness Monster only operates with 2 trains. The crew usually has the next train ready to go once the prior one hits the brake run, between the simple restraints and lengthy ride duration. Station to station, this ride is nearly 3 minutes in duration. This coaster received an extensive refurbishment a few years ago, and the original Aero trains were replaced by similar but new ones from S&S. But they look and feel identical to me, right down to the restraints. You have the same over-the-shoulder harness. I think your height will have a major impact whether you like Loch Ness Monster. If you're too small, your ears will get trapped in between the over-the-shoulder restraint, causing some painful headbanging. If you're too tall, your legs could be pressed against the fiberglass seat back in front of you. If the latter is an issue, the very front row does have some extra legroom. However, I prefer to ride in the back car. This rides a trio of satisfying drops in that row. Once dispatched, you navigate a small dip and a few turns en route to the lift hill. This section is higher off the ground than you may expect, but you never have much speed. You then begin the climb up the ride's once record-breaking lift hill. It's a pretty slow lift hill, but you can bask in the glory of the Aero anti-rollbacks for the whole ascent. Once at the top, you turn 90 degrees and get a great view of the back half of the park. But you don't have much time to admire the sights, because you're soon dropping 114 feet or 35 meters right down to the water's surface. If you're in the back, you get some decent ejector airtime in this drop. That's a signature feature these Aero loopers have with straight drops. You then rise up a massive turnaround. You start to turn left before you reach the apex, so those up front get some good laterals in place of airtime. This turn hugs the trees and borders the Land of the Dragons kiddie area, so the latter is actually one of the better places to photograph this coaster. After a slow turn, you head down the ride's second drop. There is a trim at the start, which holds the train back for a second, but once the train clears the brake, those in back get a quick pop of airtime. It sort of catches seasoned coaster riders off guard because of the delayed airtime. You then rip through the first vertical loop. The pullouts around the inversion and the loop itself both offer good positive Gs. I love a classic Aero vertical loop. You then rise upwards, getting a good pop of airtime up front. The next part is mostly out of view of guests. You turn right and head into a mid-course brake run. It will slow the train a little, but not too much because you really don't have much speed here to begin with. You then enter this cool-looking rock cave, which holds a long downwards helix. While the darkness tries to make the element exciting, there's no sugarcoating it. This helix is awful. It's painstakingly slow and boring. It is the true definition of a dead spot. When you emerge into daylight after what seems like an eternity, you quickly hop upwards, which gives a quick pop of airtime for those up front. You then ascend the ride's second lift hill. This, along with the prior helix, really disrupt the flow of the ride. At the top, you slowly turn 90 degrees to the right and navigate another sizable drop. While it's not as big or powerful as the first two, those in back still get a weak pop of airtime. You then whip through another forceful vertical loop. It's probably an optical illusion, but the loop looks equal in height to the prior drop, so it's pretty surprising how punchy the loop is. And the valleys on both sides of the element also apply some positive G's as well. You then curve upwards and to the right into the coaster's brake run, getting some weak laterals along the way. This ends the 3,240 foot or 990 meter long coaster. Now let's talk about two possible issues with Loch Ness Monster. First, the pacing. While I like the ride's start and finish, the middle section is one of the most egregious dead spots on any coaster. That helix and second lift hill really ruin the ride's flow. I think this would be a stronger coaster if they didn't even exist. Second, the smoothness. The Achilles heel for most of these old Arrow loopers are the transitions, but I'm glad to say that Loch Ness Monster navigates its turns fairly fluidly, well as fluidly as an old Arrow can. They aren't as smooth as a B&M, but they don't jerk the train. Where this coaster does exhibit some roughness though is in the valleys, where the coaster exerts its highest positive Gs. The pullouts after each drop and loop are fairly shaky. I'm tall enough that it's only a minor nuisance for me, but can produce headbanging if you're on the shorter side. So what would I rate the Loch Ness Monster? I would give this classic Arrow looper a 6.5 out of 10. I love this ride's setting between the abundance of trees and the ride's best elements being placed above the water. And the drops and vertical loops are highlights as well. However, this coaster's pacing is problematic. Many rides have a mid-course brake run, which momentarily halts the action. Loch Ness Monster is a full-on commercial brake with that lengthy helix and second lift hill. The shaky valleys are another small issue for me, but the pacing is the biggest one. While this coaster is dated, it still offers an enjoyable ride experience between the airtime and forceful loops. I usually only ride this coaster once a visit because I ride Alpengeist for my inversion fix, but I cannot deny this coaster's impact in both its park and the entire coaster industry. There's a reason Loch Ness Monster is as iconic as it is. I'm glad Busch Gardens invested to refurbish this coaster a few years ago to preserve it for generations to come. Compared to the other Arrow multi-loopers, I think I prefer the ones that pack in more inversions, but I do appreciate this coaster's uniqueness. I doubt we'll ever see a layout quite like this ever again. So those are my thoughts on Loch Ness Monster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. What are your thoughts on this famous Arrow looper? Do you like its layout, or do you think it's a little too old-fashioned? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.